Hello, this is a Lighthouse Hall of Fame film from the North American server. We are in Swamp. Standard mode South Spawn, and it's Dark Ninja, but this time he's in his VK 2801. One artillery apiece, one scout apiece. Enemy team is mostly heavies with 4 mediums and 2 TDs, whereas his team's mostly mediums and TDs with only 3 heavies. So the enemy team has the armor, his team has the mobility. Not really a bad trade-off in Swamp. A lot of different ways to flank people here, so hopefully his team can use their mobility and produce a victory here. Most of his team's moving up the eastern flank, and he's pulling forward. Let's see where he goes. Okay, he's going to curve around. This is basically a half-court spotting run right here. Trying to see what he can see coming this way. And then he's going to move back behind the safety of these hills. Gets a big hit on the MT-25. Gotta be careful, E-25's behind him. There's the enemy scout moving off to the center of the map. At distance, you don't want to take on an E-25 face to face if you're both full strength, but he was a one-shot kill. And so that was the okay thing to do there. Now he's going to try to take out the MT-25 as well. Here he goes. 3-3 early on in the fight. He's going to get the fire at the Panther. If you're ever in a 2801 and you get the fire at the back of a Panther, you can do great damage, and a lot of times you'll get the fire if you go for the engine compartment. Now 152 you have to be careful with because they can clean your clock in one shot. Spin around, Persian. Hope he's dead. If he can use the terrain to mask his approach on this 152 and come in right behind him, he's going to get a bunch of damage really fast. The guy's looking off to his right. Misses the first shot, doesn't matter. He's going to stay behind the TD and take out the arty, I believe. Good choice. Because with him being to the side of the TD, it was no threat to him, so he could take a shot and kill the arty. Now he gets to blow this dude to hell. Switching over to heat, shoot at this nice flat soft back, and you see what kind of damage it does then. Just heavies left for the enemy team. A lot of mediums for his team. These guys just aren't going to be able to keep up with it. The heavies' rate of fire is really going to be a hindrance to them right now, and their lack of agility. It's going to combine to. I'm thinking they're going to get wiped out in pretty short order here. He goes into sniper mode to make sure he gets the shot where he wants it, and he's rewarded with another big hit. Still firing heat at the moment. He's going to switch back to HE. He gets a kill here, and now it's down to the... Let's see who he picks. IS-6 probably shooting to their side. Circle IS-6 all day if he's just sitting there. There's the battle. He ends up, check this out, he ends up 3,710 points of damage. 5 kills, 18 of 25 shooting, that's 72%. 449 assisted damage with 4 spots. He made 18,561 credits despite firing off, I believe, 10 rounds of heat. And he earned 2,697 XP, survived the fight, got a high caliber, fighter, fire for effect, and bruiser mini medals, and it gives him 2,742 battle score. It puts him in the second place on the VK 2801 Hall of Fame. In the beginning, he went over the balcony and just kept going up the middle, got some early spots, and then he moved back down into the center and just started harassing the flanks of tanks who were otherwise engaged. Saw the opening to close in on the TD and realized that when he was on the flank of the TD, he could take a shot off and aim in on the arty and take out the arty, because the TD had no possible way of hurting him. So it didn't matter if he took an extra 6 or 7 seconds to fire at the arty. And from there, he switched over to heat so he could fire into that nice flat back surface of the 152. Got some big hits on him and took him out fairly quick. And then he started mixing up heat and HE based on whatever target he had. You saw the heat work really well on the back of the T-32. It won't always do it, but a lot of times it will. The back of T-32s, you can use heat. If it's a T-34, you don't even need heat. Just fire HE and you'll still get big hits on the back of a T-34. And then it was off to the IS-6, and his team was mopping up everybody else, and the battle was over fairly fast. They have a 15-10 win that really wasn't as close as it looked. They were in control pretty much the whole way. One of the things you want to do in a 2801 is experiment with your heat and your HE and figure out which tanks will get the biggest hits with HE and which tanks will get the biggest hits with heat. It makes a huge difference in your damage totals. It makes a huge difference in your ability to take out tanks quickly. Because if you fire HE at a tank whose armor is just a little bit too thick, you're going to end up with a lot of 50 to 75 or 100 shots of damage. Whereas if you fire heat, you may end up with 2 to 400. And then, once the armor gets thicker and thicker and thicker, you'll reach a point where heat is no longer effective and you'll get a lot of bounces. And at that point, you want to switch back to HE against the more heavily armored tanks, because a bounce is worse than 50 to 100 points of damage. It's a tank where you really have to study your shots and look at the angles. Against the back of that 152, for example, when you fire directly 90 degrees at a flat surface, heat's going to be way more effective than if you're off in the distance firing at an angle at the same tank. Heat's not going to work. So the closer you get to a straight on normal shot, which means 90 degrees deflection shot, the more efficient heat is and the more times you'll be rewarded with the big shot from heat. Practice, play around with it when you're out in your 2801, and then remember what shot works where with which ammo against different kinds of tanks. Because if it worked in this battle, guess what? It's going to work in the next one too. And when you discover, hey, I can use heat on Cromwells, and most of the time I'm going to get big hits on them, you just start remembering that from fight to fight, and all of a sudden you see your damage totals growing. You see all your stats improving when you're in that tank. And hopefully you'll end up with a mission like this that Dark Ninja just had, and you end up in the Hall of Fame. Happy hunting.